Hello and welcome back to the Snickerdoodle Knits YouTube channel. Today I have an exciting guest with me. This is Marin of Knitterista. She designs beautiful knitting patterns and is amazing with photography. But today we're talking all about shawls. You've been around here for a little while. You know that I have several shawl patterns and that a lot of folks associate me with shawl knitting. I love the shawls, but I think we all can understand that sometimes shawls are hard to get to stay in place, to fit right, all of that. So that's what we're talking to Marin about today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that introduction. Never got an introduction before. It's really cool.
Yes. Is there anything else you want to share about yourself?
No, I mean, you could say I'm from Germany, so everybody has got a little head up that my English isn't perfect. I give you my best, but
we don't strive for perfection. Actually, I'm working to strive less for perfection because I tend to be a perfectionist, and I'm valuing more real life. I don't think we need to live up to that standard of perfection. So you're totally welcome here without perfect English. All right, so let's talk about issues that you've seen with shawls. What are the main fit issues that you have experienced or heard about?
I feel like everybody is complaining about it slipping off the shoulders, right? That's the main issue we have. And I feel like it's not with all shawl shapes, it's especially with triangular shawl shapes. I do have a crescent shawl. I just knit, not my design. But that one actually doesn't slip as much, but the triangulars are kind of a pain in the ass.
And with the crescent shape though, and I only have a couple, I find that it like tends to fall down in the middle. It tends, so it stays on my shoulders, but then it kind of just like droops and it doesn't stay out.
Yeah, they wrap beautifully with the body in the back around your shoulders. And that's when they stay perfectly. And and that's the way I like to wear it also, more than having it in the front. And I don't know why that is, but I feel like the triangulars are more meant to be with the body in front. And with the crescents, you have too much texture here. It kind of feels weird. And then you have to put it together. And yeah. Anyway, so I developed now this idea for triangular shapes. I wanted to focus on those, and I might do it for the circulars and at another time. But that's my main focus for now, and I think it's for me it's very interesting to have this kind of small field and compare those together and not rolling it all out. It's a bit too overwhelming for myself and for other people too.
Yeah, for sure. Because if you had all of the information all together about all of the shawl shapes, it would be hard to actually consume all of that information and to actually get the information that you need out of it. So folks that are listening in, they don't know what you're talking about with your idea. So if you want to share just a little bit about it right now, we'll talk more about it later.
Yeah, I'm going to host a workshop online during the month of June, and that one will look at all, no, not at all, but at the three basic triangular shawl shapes, and we will learn how to manipulate those shapes to make them fit better.
Yes, it's going to be so much fun. Okay, so let's go back to issues with shawl sizes, shapes, fitting. Another thing that I have noticed with the triangle, so I always wear my shawls in the front. They look better on the back, but that's not practical for how I actually want to use them. And so the other thing that I've noticed with especially top down triangular shawls symmetrical,
Mhm.
is that the ends, it's common that they're a little bit too short and they just like slip up and up and up, and then their shawl falls off. Um, there's different things I've used, like this shawl right here has tassels on the end that kind of help weight it to keep
Yeah.
it from being much. And sometimes I like to use shawl cuffs and things. But have you had that problem, or what other problems do you have with shawls?
That is actually the main issue, right? What you have to work on, and what we are going to learn. When your wings are compared to your body are too short, you're going to get exactly that problem.
Mhm.
And I think it doesn't matter if you knit it top down or bottom up. It will always end there. It's the same increases.
Yeah.
When you have the classic triangular shawl, it's four, right? Two on the outside, two in the middle, and you're going to get that problem. And of course, you can always hold it somehow with a brush or a shawl cuff or something similar. And we will also have a look at those items. But I believe your best bet is to manipulate the shape to get wider wingspans,
Yeah.
and then it will hold much better.
Yes, and that's what your workshop is all about, is talking about, okay, so we don't have to do these temporary fixes that we have to use every time we wear our shawls. How do we actually change it when we're making it? Because we're knitting or crocheting these projects, so we're in complete control of how it ends up. So we don't have to deal with these issues anymore.
Yeah, and I feel like it's cool for designers, if you want to make, or even if you just a knitter and want to design your own, you don't have to write the pattern up for other people. That's cool, but it's also nice if you want to buy patterns and want to feel kind of sure that what you buy will fit you in the end. So it's kind of nice understanding this basic structures and what you could do, or you could even change up a pattern you bought and make it a better fit for you. Yeah, and I mean, the second thing I just wanted to say is it's also the weight.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the more weight you have, the more it will go down.
Yes.
So I feel like the general answer to that is, of course, work with fingering yarn. Make the texture as thin as possible so it won't weigh that much. And most shawl patterns are, I think they are written for fingering weight, or it always feels like for me it's a classic. The funny thing is, I did some research about what people ask about shawl knitting, ask the public. And one of the main questions that pop up is shawl knitting pattern DK weight. The number one, number two is chunky weight. And I was like, So and I can totally understand that. When I was a beginner knitter, and that's not so far away, I was also like, oh no, not this small needles. A thin yarn will take me forever. I can't do that. I don't touch fingering yarn. That you're gonna grow. You're gonna fall in love with
Yes. Yes.
but I thought that's quite interesting that people actually search for that, and they don't search. So they do search also generally for shawl knitting patterns, but not with fingering weight, because that will pop up immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's only one part. The other one is the fiber and how the yarn is made. So this one is, I think, Aran weight, but it's a blow yarn. So you have a lot of fluff in it, and it's really light. And I believe if you would knit a shawl, if you don't want to knit a shawl in fingering or even DK, you can use one of those yarns, and that are really made for being light. That will also be good for your shawl and won't get down so much.
Yeah. So just to explain a little bit what that fiber is, how it's created, the blown yarn, it's like, I'm not super technically inclined on yarn information, but I know that it's something about like creating a tube and then the fiber is blown through it. And so then there's a lot more air in it.
Yeah, you don't see that, right? Yeah, it is. It looks like a kind of knitted or crocheted. I'm wondering if I can make it out so you see it a bit better. Not really, huh?
No.
Yeah, but anyway, it is like that, exactly like that. And I think this is Camel Rose, Snefnak. Looks like that. And that has 55% alpaca. And I believe this knitted or crocheted tube is made of the alpaca. And then there's 35% cotton. And they blow that one in, kind of. But that makes it also really fluffy. I actually love that yarn.
Yes. And so that's why it's so lightweight. But it also is like the squish factor. It's like it's not like pink or something.
That's also part. That's actually the first shawl I ever made. I could tell you the story about that one too in a second. And it is somehow similar. It's not blown yarn, but it is kind of alpaca and wool. Don't ask me, some kind of mix up. But you can, squish that together better actually than if you would made it just of merino. And it also has this fluff. I mean, you have to like that. If you don't like how it looks like and how it feels, it's not yours, then it's not yours. But that one also don't fall down my shoulders. I feel like it's kind of holding together the fibers. So yeah. And I think it's actually funny that most of the shawls are made of this 100% merino that is super soft, but also a bit like silk. So it glitches. Nice to knit, right? Glitches on your needle, but it will also not hold together.
Yeah, it's more free.
Yeah.
So like something like a non-superwash wool, it has a lot more grip and
what you would use for color work is kind of the ones that are more grippy. Grippy. Is that even a word that exists? But it does have more grip, so it's yeah. But yeah, again, it's you have to like that. I'm a bit reserved with the non-superwash, not so much because I want to put them in the washing machine, but because they are, often a bit itchy.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't done a whole lot with non-superwash. I have had a couple of yarns that indie yarn dyers have sent me. I'm like, ooh, this actually isn't so bad.
And
everything I design with, all of these that you see are 100% superwash. So
yeah, it's also the classic base from the hand dyers, right? You have to search quite a lot for find somebody who dyes on non-superwash, and I think it's also because the colors look on superwash.
Yes.
Yeah.
And superwash.
Somebody that talks about sustainability is one of the things I always feel a bit bad about, but on the other hand, come on, knitting, it's already good somehow. But I have to say, with the non-superwash yarns, it does make a huge difference if it's blocked or not. So it can be that you get a skein and have that in your hands, like, oh my god, and then you knit it, put it in the water, and it kind of blooms beautifully and feels quite nice, and then you wear it 3 times, and then it's really cool. So I don't know what's happening there, but it gets better, definitely. Yeah.
All right, so back when we were talking about shawl shapes, I realized it might be good to show examples of what these different shawl shapes actually are, especially when we're talking about the different kinds of triangular shawls.
Yeah. So the one I just showed you, that was my first shawl. I'm going to tell you a bit the story behind it, so you're going to understand why it is and it is. So this is it's a huge one. It's a classic asymmetrical, and I kind of ended up there. I have to say that. It's about, I think, 2.5 years ago, so I'm not sure. I fell in love with the Outlander TV series. I think like a lot of people did. And quite honestly, I just started watching it because the knitting community was raving about those beautiful knits. And I said, okay, I'm going to give it a try. And usually I'm not into this historical scenery things, but yeah, after the third episode I was on, and I think like everybody else, I fell in love with this super strong woman wearing this shawls. And very much later I learned that the way they are wearing it, they are having the body at the back, and then it's a cross like a hug in the front, and then you tie it together in the back. And that is called Sonntag style, and it goes back, I really love that part, it goes back to a German designer who invented the style, and her last name was Sonntag, and it's actually also a weekend day, it's Sunday. So that's a bit about the history, and then I want you to knit a shawl like that. And I try to get that done, and I download knitting patterns, and somehow I didn't get done. I got kind of crazy. I always looked at the star, Claire Fraser, played by Catriona Balfe, and thought, oh my god, this woman is so tall. I'm not. And I see that the shawl's already big on her. If I have a look at the shawls I'm now knitting, they look like they would end up somewhere around my knees. So to be able to make this knot in the back and the whole crossing, you need a very wide wingspan. And I tried to accomplish that, but I somehow didn't manage. And at some time I was really frustrated. And it was also my first try knitting a shawl, and I didn't feel like I'm a shawl knitter. And anyway, at some point I decided, okay, I'm done with this. Just make an asymmetrical, that's easy, I can do that in garter, come on. And I made this one. I made it just super big so I can kind of wear it like that. And honestly, it looks shitty because asymmetrical isn't suitable for it. It looks kind of strange. But anyway, so that was my first try. And this autumn, Stars released the first trailer for the new Outlander season that is right now on TV, and I saw Claire with the new shawl, again, same shape, again, simple garter, and in this kind of color, and which is one of my favorite colors. And I was like, oh damn, I have to get it done. And I already had with the yarn dyer with Ashley from Smash Knits Corporation. We wanted to make a shawl design, and she's also very much in love with Outlander. So I asked her, sent her the screenshot from the tray. I said, come on, I saw you have this kind of color. Can we do it? And she was, yeah, let's do it. So I got the yarn, but several things went wrong. First of all, it was a holidays then, and it took forever to get the yarn from Canada to Germany. So I felt like stressed out. I was already late. Then the first try I gave to getting this done, I had a huge there was a bit perfectionism, and I wanted to make it fancy, and I wanted to make it, a bit different. And I did work with the garter stitch and with German short rows to get it really wrapped beautiful around the shawl. Everything was fine before I put it in the water to block it, and then and nothing where and I, with that you had all this, you know, the shaping had to be at the right place, and it wasn't, and I was like, oh my god, if this happens to me, probably my knitters will get the same trouble. So I ripped that open and tried again. And it was a bit again and again and again. And I tried all those triangular shawl shapes, trying to find out with which kind of construction I can make this kind of shawl in a way that it would fit people like me, and in a way how I could also, you know, give it room to all our body shapes. So it's not only because I feel like this is a lot like a garment. Yeah, it is a lot like a garment, and I wanted to get it right, and I wanted to get it right for my body and also for somebody who is really quite big, and not only with 3 sizes, but really with being able to say this is kind of the formula, and you get it done for you, whatever your size is. And yes, that was quite a big accomplishment. But yeah, it took me on this journey to look at all the shawl shapes, and that's first I wanted to make a workshop only for this outlander shape, but after this journey and being led with everything too, quite honestly, I decided no, I learned so much, and it's actually really cool to understand all the shapes and how you can work with them and change them, that I'm going to make a workshop. So we are going to start with the asymmetrical shawl shape.
Yes, that's the shape that you had shown from your first shawl.
Yeah.
And for folks that aren't familiar, it's worked from one tip down to the end.
Yeah, right. You knit it. I can actually show it here, right?
Yeah.
Start here at the tip, and you work it kind of over this side and end up here. And it's not only my first shawl, but it's also my first, or my only, I have to say, until now, my only shawl design. And the one I made last summer is this one.
Mm-hmm.
And that is already a version that works with increases and decreases and plays with shape. So it doesn't look like a classic asymmetrical shape, and it's not as asymmetrical as you get. Where's my mini? Okay, as a mini I just showed you. So yeah. This will be the first one we talk about.
Yeah, asymmetrical is my favorite shape to wear, but you like it's really helpful if you have a much larger shawl to get that wingspan. And I love big shawls, so it works fine for me. And then I usually knot it underneath to keep it in place better. The ends I knot. But if you want a shorter shawl, the problem then is that your ends either don't wrap all the way around, or they just barely wrap around and you can't hold it in place.
Usually it's only the one end. One is fine.
Yes, that's so true. Yes.
So you could do right around. Yes. And, but the other one is a stinker.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like if you want to make it classic, make it already with the design that wants to have some kind of brush, accessoire, whatever. What I did with this one as a bonus is I actually made that. So you can wear it in the front, and then you get the one end in there, just like you would do with the shawl cuff, and it holds. But by the way, it holds without it too, quite good. But yeah, but you can when you start working with increases and decreases, and I think you see that, right? You can get a shawl shape that is nearly symmetrical, and you get rid of that problem.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, the second one we are doing is one that is not so popular, I think, and that is the sideways.
Mm.
And as I knit this in stockinette, it always rolls like crazy. But there you start as one tip, knit it to the middle of it sideways. And then you work the other part. So you first increase and then you decrease, and then you get kind of a perfect symmetrical shawl shape. And I have to say that one is, even with just one increase, it gets better, this better ratio. But what I did, and that's one that will come out with it, is I made a shawlette that is actually asymmetrical, because you can play with this too and have kind of, yeah, kind of funny other shapes, and I feel like it's a bit overlooked. But I also believe we are used to having our stitch patterns from the bottom up, or from bottom up or top down, because it's in garments like that and hats and so on. So this sideways is kind of unusual for our eyes, and I think that's why they are not so popular. It's kind of strange having them
I've
flip.
never I've never worked that shape before, but you want to hold the sample up, the little mini up again? It's basically, is it basically working the asymmetrical shawl just with different increases, and then once you get to the end you decrease again? I mean, obviously you make it shorter, but it's kind of like working two asymmetrical shawls.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about it is, if you have one, no, like, if you have, let's say, a certain amount of yarn you want to work with, that's your perfect shawl shape.
Yes, because you can work to the middle to 50%,
Yeah,
and then you know that you're, yeah.
yeah, you first do, I mean, you have to divide it by half, yeah? Have to be that clever before, but yeah, just knit until your first half is done, and then change to the other part. There will be no leftovers. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and that is something kind of frustrating with shawls. Most of the time, once you're getting to the end, your rows are getting longer and longer, and it's hard to figure out, okay, how many rows do I actually have left of yarn?
Yeah, that is also another one I love about that shawl shape, is your rows don't get
Yeah.
because those Crescent shawl I've been talking about, it had 600 or even more stitches on my needles at the end in fingering weight yarn, and getting one row done every evening was amazingly frustrating. It never ends. So what happened with that one, it's actually that part is really cool. And I also saw that a lot of people search for, can I knit my shawls with straight needles? I mean, my question would be, why would you want that, quite honestly? But if you want to knit your shawl with straight needles because you inherited them, maybe, and or you just like that more, that is also a great shape. You won't be able to do that with the other ones, I believe.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. Do you know Hohi Locatelli, knitwear designer? She prefers to work on straight needles. And so
Yeah.
she has some really long straight needles that she uses for a lot of different projects. But I'm with you.
I
I'd rather
imagine
use
that on our small sofa. Usually I knit in the evenings, and my son and my husband are sitting next to me.
well, what I find is that I get a lot more arm pain with like straight needles, because you have all the weight then on the end of the needle. And so then it's harder.
Yeah, I never worked on straight needles. I have one pair just to talk about it, honestly. That's it. When I decided I want to learn to knit, I went to the local yarn store and she said, "You're going to work on circular, whatever you do, because the weight is in the cable." And that's super important for shawl shapes, because when you have all this huge body and you have to, oh God, I can't even imagine. I think it's already just thinking about it. But yeah, I want to bring that into that. If you want to work on straight needles, sideways it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and the last one then, of course, is the classic we are all thinking about, right? And quite honestly, I was surprised because if you make the classic one, it doesn't look like a triangular at all. It might get more triangular the bigger it gets, but it's more like a diamond in that part. And yeah, anyway, it still has the same problem. It will flip off your shoulders. And for that one, I've actually two improvements. So the one is how you work the Sonntag shawl, and that's a pattern I made. I'm going to show you that. I think I have to stand up for it. So yeah, that is big. It has to be big. And you can make the knot in the end. But see that? It's ending where it should end at the end of my bag over my, what's a good word? Butt.
Yeah.
So and the pattern will explain how you make that fit to your body. So that's kind of the highlight. I'll show you the small one. But there will also be another one. And
so that one there is basically your solution to creating an outlander shawl that actually fits your body size.
It's not that I totally invented it, to be honest. I kind of did a lot of research, and somebody else came up with the construction. But I'm going to explain it very short. You knit a diamond. That's the one. And then you knit one wing after the other. And because of that, you can make these wings as long as you need to. Yeah. And that one actually looks like a triangle. No diamond. Yeah. So that is also not my invention, but I mean it's so long. But I haven't seen it very much in patterns, and not in a way where I felt like it's explained very good. And it never got this, I never found a pattern that gave me the opportunity or explained to me how I could make the changes in the wing. So that's my part. Hopefully. At least I feel like it. Yeah. Right. And the other one is, you probably know that shape, but there's a bit of an improvement too. It's a heart shape, and that one already that also gives you wider wings, or gives you the opportunity to wrap it better around your body. Yeah. So feels like nobody has to sign up for this anymore.
No, there will be so much. We're only 40 minutes in, and you have several lessons. So there will be, if you're finding any of this interesting, and you're curious how to actually adjust the shapes to get them to fit and what kind of ratios you need and all that kind of stuff. That's
and I also have to say it's much different to knit the minis. That's what we are going to do. We are going to knit the minis, and when you knit them, it doesn't take long, but that's the way to learn it, right? You learn it by doing it. it's one that you won't forget. And I'm telling you that, and maybe you remember one or two things, but in the end you will probably forget about it. But if you come to the workshop and do it with me together, you will remember. I can promise you that. And we will also talk about the other stuff. We will not only talk about the shawl shapes, we will talk, that is the main focus, but I feel like talking about yarn, what we had at the beginning, is important. Talking about needles a bit. There is a lesson for color, there is a lesson for increases and decreases. I asked a bit on my newsletter folks what they would like to learn, and they were already, it was amazing. I got so much nice feedback, and they were already really excited. And a lot of them said, you know what, I would like to learn what's the difference, or what is better. That was kind of strange. What is better, stockinette stitch or garter? So I can't say that one is better than the other, but I will talk about stitch patterns generally, and especially those two, and tell you which one makes what's a characteristic about it, and you decide what you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's design, okay? You decide what you want, and I can only help you decide for the right thing that will accomplish it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the same goes for increases and decreases. I feel like some people love yarn overs, which make with big holes, and some people hate it. I used to hate it. I'm falling a bit more in love with them. We will definitely do this minis with yarn overs, because it shows you where you did the where you worked your new stitches. So this is not to be beautiful. This is really to understand how it works. So that's important. Yeah. But we will talk about the other ones and what they do, and where. I mean, I have some favorite places where to put which one. And I also think, like, knit front bag, it's super for beginners. I love that one. This one.
Yes.
Because it was the only one I could accomplish at that time. So keep a bit in mind for whom you're doing this. Do it for yourself, which one you like. I feel like make one left, make one right. We all have a favorite. And I keep it a bit with Stephen West. I do it right in my patterns, and I knit it right. But if you hate doing the make one right, and I can understand that one better than make one left, I like doing make one left. I hate doing make one right. Just do make one left all the time. But still, we talk about it. What does the other one do? Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit more about the workshop. What's the name? How much does it cost? And how long does it last?
It lasts about I think the whole month of June. We start on the 1st. That's the most important one. And then we have 4 weeks, and the name is Trial Lab.
After triangular shawl, right?
Or triangular and lab, because I feel like we are kind of lab partners, doing our experiments and having fun together, hopefully. It will be completely online. You have to sign up on my page for it, which is knitterista.com, and then /trier-lab, or you can.
And it'll be linked down in the description as well.
You can also find that on my homepage. And yeah, you have to sign up for it. There will be a Facebook group, and you will get weekly emails from me for it. And it costs nothing.
Yes, so exciting. So they're gonna get lessons every week and have time to work the mini shawls and ask questions, and that's basically what the
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah, I have one day where we are talking more where you get lessons to learn about things like yarn and increases and decreases, those kind of stuff. I have one day where the lessons come in for the shawl shapes. Um, then all the shawls I just showed you, plus one I haven't showed you because that's still on the needles. um, will be released during that time too. So it gives you the opportunity to make a real shawl big if you like it, and get those more in even. Um, and then there will be one day where we make a live inside the Facebook group where I can ask questions and I maybe talk more about the plan. And those lessons will be available. I haven't decided for everything perfectly, but there will be definitely videos, and there will probably also be blog posts. So it's kind of a mix, whatever can work on those lessons, whatever, whenever it fits for you. You don't have to be live for those. But yeah, I'm really excited. I have to say that it's my first time to do Facebook group. It took me a long time to decide, okay, I'm going to do it now, because I generally hate being on Facebook, but I also wanted to have that kind of community. And yeah, that's a big one for me, doing that for you guys. I want a Facebook group for you, but I feel like it's part of the excitement, and I hope it's going to be very good for all of us, sharing our minis there. I feel like I felt like it's important.
Yeah, and I think it'll be really interesting, like, to share the minis, but then it can also lead into a conversation of why do the minis look different, like gauge and yarn weight and different things like that affect. It does end up affecting the shape because it affects the ratios of the stitches and all of that kind of thing. And then also I think it's going to be fun for everybody to see each other's projects. And I know for myself, when I'm doing something like that where I'm learning, it's really important for me to be able to ask questions. And so having a Facebook group where I can ask the questions or somebody else can ask the questions and I can see the answers is really valuable. So I'm so glad that you're doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, you can ask me anytime, by the way. Yeah, I am on Instagram. I do answer my DMs. I do answer. I'm always getting excited when some of my newsletter people writes me back when I ask a question. It's like, oh, anybody see it anyway. But it's not the same, right? It's a bit with more distance. And yeah, but I also wanted to have a closed up group this time for this event. Last summer I did a knit along, and that was only on Facebook, so there was a program about it, there were lives, and we also had Google Hangouts some, but it wasn't, I didn't have this closed up private group where you get this immediately conversation, and I won't be there any minute, I have to say that too. But I feel like people tend to answer questions from other people too, so let's hope you all help each other a bit out, and I come in there too, of course.
Yes, perfect. Well, thank you so much for sharing so much about shawls. I'm sure there are so many folks that are going to relate to the struggles of getting a shawl to actually stay and to fit. I'm sure there are going to be folks that are excited about the Outlander style shawl and figuring out how to actually make one that fits them. And then it's just going to be such a huge learning, what's the word I'm looking for? So, a privilege experience. Anyway, if you're super excited about this, it's totally free program to sign up via Marin's website at Knitterista, and that link will be down below. So I hope you enjoy. If you sign up, go ahead and let us know in the comments, and I'm excited to see your projects.
Thank you so much.
Yes.